All right, class. So as you know, as I've told you, I wasn't going to be in class today. So what we're going to do is we are going to continue uh, practicing verification of identities. Remember, I always like to go over a couple of housekeeping rules for use just to remind you. So again, if you look up at the screen, I have assigned job duties for the same students that have been my selected students for the year so far. For second period, Chelsea, please make sure you help the substitute with checking roll. And Arthur, please make sure you are able to manage my computer. For third period, Sanita, please help the substitute with checking roll. Elijah, manage my computer. DeAndre Washington, make sure you turn off my projector once class is over. This is very important, DeAndre. Please make sure you turn it off. The remote control should be on my black cart. Fifth period, Diamond Martin, please make sure you help the sub with checking roll after lunch. Mr. Briggs, make sure you manage my computer. Sixth period, Autumn Jackson, please make sure you help the sub with checking roll. And Benjamin Harris, manage my computer. Seventh period, Lily Shelton, make sure you help the sub with checking roll. Jada Owens, manage my computer. Tashira Parker, make sure that you turn off my projector once class is over. Whether you're turning it off or on, it's the red button. If you're turning it off, you have to aim at the projector and make sure you press the red button twice. Also, ignore that last comment. You don't have any calculators on your desk, so you don't need to worry about that. All right, we're going to go ahead and continue. Now, just a couple of rules while I'm gone, just to remind you, no one leaves unless called from the office with an official pass. Everyone must sit in their assigned seat. Everyone must sit in their assigned seat. You can pause or replay the video as you choose so that everyone can get the notes from the lesson. Homework number 4 is available on my website, but don't forget that it is due tomorrow, Wednesday. It is due on tomorrow, which is Wednesday. And again, I always hate to remind you all, but you do know that you have a test on Thursday, so you may want to reconsider if you plan to misbehave, because I can always just go ahead and give you the retest. Now, fifth period, you know what that deal was. You need to make sure you come in, sit down quietly, and don't even say a word. If I could tell you not to breathe and it was doable for you, I would tell you not to breathe. But you have to breathe. So all I should be hearing, or all the sub should be hearing, is just your breath. And that's it. So make sure you're able to redeem yourself, because if not, then you will be taking my retest on Thursday. I left notebook paper on my black cart. A helper from each period, please go ahead and give each student 2 sheets of notebook paper. Whatever we cover in class, you will be expected to turn into the substitute teacher for a pop quiz grade. And remember, pop quiz grades are now 40%. This should be an easy 100 for you. No excuses. If it is not turned in, it's equal to a 0 pop quiz grade. Remember to use pencil because you are turning it into me. Now at this moment, go ahead and take out your identity sheet. Or in your spiral, you should have your list written out of identities. And also go ahead and pull out the exercises that I gave you. I gave, I believe, 5th, 6th, and 7th period those practice problems on Friday. And I believe I gave 2, 3, and 5, or just 2 and 2nd and 3rd period. I gave the practice problems yesterday. And it's from my old pre-cal book. It was a total of 50 problems. So we're going to go ahead and work out a couple of those. So while you go ahead and get that out, I just want to remind you that I will be back today after school. However, I do have a department meeting. I really don't know how long this meeting is going to last. It could last longer, and I may not be able to make it in time after school for my meeting, so I may have to cancel it, which means I would probably also have to cancel tutorials. But kind of just let's play it by ear. I should be back after school, but you never know. Things usually happen sometimes that I can't do anything about. So just remember that. All right, we're going to go ahead and practice some verification of identities. And I'm going to most likely do the even ones. Maybe do an odd or two, but I'm going to do the even ones and leave those odd ones for you to do. But we're going to start with number 2, which is cotangent of theta equals cosine of theta times cosecant of theta. Now, if I were to ask you which side looks the ugliest, I think at this point you should be able to tell me that the right-hand side looks the ugliest. So we're going to go ahead and work with the right-hand side. Now, remember, usually the first step is to write everything in terms of sine or cosine. So if this is already in terms of sine or cosine, there's no need for you to do anything to it. So we're going to go ahead and just keep it like that. Unless if you really want to, you can go ahead and put it over 1 if you really wanted to. So we can go ahead and do that. Now, cosecant of theta can be written or rewritten as 1 over sine of theta. Okay, what happens to the ones? The ones cancel out, so we're just going to go ahead, I'm going to go ahead and highlight them. That's my representation of them canceling out, which leaves you with what? What are you left with? That's right, you are left with cosine of theta over sine of theta. And what's next? What do you know cosine over sine is? Cosine over sine is, exactly, it's cotangent of theta. Very good. All right, so then what we do is once we get what we were supposed to get, we go ahead and finish out the problem as usual. So we are going to say, I need to find my therefore notation. Here we go. Therefore, cotangent of theta equals cotangent of theta. And we are done. That's how you do number 2. All right, number 4. Let's go ahead and go to number 4. And I'm going to go ahead and type it up. So we have secant squared of theta is equal to sine squared of theta plus cosine squared of theta over cosine squared of theta. Alright, so we have number 4, which says secant squared of theta equals sine squared of theta plus cosine squared of theta over cosine squared of theta. No, you cannot cancel these two out. The reason you cannot cancel is because there is something in between right here. These two have different terms. They are split with a plus in the middle, so you can't cancel. Now, which side looks the ugliest? Of course, at this point, it's the right-hand side. So that's the one we are going to do. Now, you should be able to figure out that this right here is the most important identity I have told you. Remember that I said that if you forget all of your identities, the most important one that I want you to remember is sine squared of x plus cosine squared of x, and that is equal to 1. Then you are left with cosine squared of theta in the denominator. Now, if you recall, 1 over cosine is secant of theta. So 1 over cosine squared is secant squared of theta. Alright, is that what I was supposed to get up here? Yes, it was. So we go ahead and finish the verification process by saying, therefore, secant squared of theta is equal to secant squared of theta. These are very easy if you know your identities. All right, number 6. Number 6 reads cotangent squared of theta, so I have cotangent right here, is equal to cosecant squared of theta minus 1. All right, well, obviously, this is the hardest sign, but you should know that cosecant squared of theta minus 1 is an identity already, and that really is cotangent squared of theta. Okay? So all you really had to do was just remember that this right here was an identity. I'm going to go ahead and highlight that. That's an identity, and that's equal to cotangent squared of theta. So at the end, you will have to just simply say, therefore, cotangent squared of theta is equal to cotangent squared of theta. And that's our answer. All right, number 8. And I have a feeling my video is going to cut out right now, so if it does, just move on to the next video, video number 2, and I will continue from there. So I have tangent of theta for this one over 1 minus cosine squared of theta is equal to secant of theta times cosecant of theta. Secant of theta times cosecant of theta. Alright, so I think for this part, or this problem, the left-hand side is a little bit more uglier than the right-hand side. Right? Out of these two, you would try to avoid using this side because it's a fraction. Well, remember, you want to work with the one that looks the ugliest, so we're going to work with this one. Now, I want you to notice that this right here is actually an identity. You should now be able to start figuring out what is an identity and what isn't. So if I do that, I should be able to figure out that that is equal to, anybody know? Okay, it is equal to sine squared of theta. Okay, the next step is for us to continue, and I'm going to change this tangent of theta into terms of sine or cosine. So I'm going to now have tangent rewritten as sine of theta over cosine of theta over sine squared of theta. And what is this method right here? You should be able to notice it. That is a copy, change, flip method. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's go ahead and copy the fraction. Change this fraction right here, this one in the middle right here. Change it into a multiplication. And then we're going to flip this. This is sine squared of theta over 1. If I flip it, it becomes 1 over sine squared of theta. Like that.